If you like a good mystery to keep you guessing about what's going to happen next, then you will love the next three books. They're all types of mysteries. Some have a sci-fi supernatural twist, some are realistic, and some have you wondering just what's real and what's not. Bone Gap by Laura Ruby, Paper Towns by John Green, and Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs are all sure to grab your attention from the start and hold it until the very last page. Bone Gap by Laura Ruby is a suspenseful mystery that will twist your mind and have you thinking, what in the world is going on? But in a you can't put it down kind of way. And that is when he saw her. A tall, thin, gray man had her by the arm. Something was in his other palm. Finn had never seen him before. Rosa! The man threw her into a black SUV. The car door slammed behind her, and she slapped at the glass, scratched at the door, trying to find the lock. Rosa! A foot slammed into his gut, knocking the air from his lungs and dropping him to the ground. When he rolled over, the man was driving away with her. Rosa was gone, just like that. The police station was a blur. Between the tears and the disbelief of what had just happened, Finn couldn't identify anyone from the big book of faces in front of him. It happened so fast. He had no details to give the police. Then they started doubting what had happened. They said maybe she wanted to go. No, she was struggling to get out. She wouldn't leave us. She loved us. Earlier in the day, she had just been dancing around the garden like she always did. She was happy. Finn even started doubting himself and what he saw. As word spread around Bone Gap, no one seemed to even think about Rosa. It's like she'd never even been there. The townspeople all agreed that she probably wanted to leave, but Finn knew. And even if he couldn't identify the man, he knew that she wanted out of that car. He knew she wanted to stay. He knew he would find her. Bone Gap by Laura Ruby will have you hooked, ready to find out if Finn can solve the mystery of Rosa's kidnapping. Paper Towns by John Green is another mystery about a missing girl. But in this story, 18-year-old Margot has left on her own. But where is she? Why did she leave? And will she ever make it back? Psst, Jacob. It's senior year of high school with only weeks until graduation, when one ordinary and routine, boring night, just before midnight, Jacob's neighbor and longtime crush, Margot Roth Spiegelman, taps on his bedroom window. Margot convinces Jacob to come along on an adventure, and all of his common sense went right out the window with him. Margot's pre-planned adventure consisted of her hilarious revenge on a cheating boyfriend, cutting ties with her ex-best friends, showing Jacob a part of the city he had never seen before, and the wildest night of his life. The next day, Jacob is excited and hopeful for this new turn in their relationship, but soon finds that Margot is gone. Did she run away? Her parents think so. After all, she had done it before. Jacob begins finding clues Margot left for him and spends every minute trying to decipher their meanings. The sinister poetry she left gives him the terrible feeling that Margot may be planning something awful. Would she really try to kill herself? And only want him to be the one to find her body? Maybe she wanted him to chase her, come to her rescue like a knight in shining armor. Nothing would do but for Jacob to find out. Clue by clue, the mystery of what happened to Margot Roth Spiegelman unfolds, and it's not what Jacob or anyone else saw coming. Paper Towns by John Green is a real page-turner filled with hilarious antics, the anticipation of love, and a decoding clues type of mystery. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children is the first in a trilogy of books written by Ransom Riggs about Jacob Portman and his adventure while he travels to a small island off the coast of Wales. When I was real little, this is usually how bedtime would go. Tell me another story, Grandpa. Tell me a fairy tale about those children. "They're not fairy tales," he'd say, "and I have pictures to prove it." Then he would pull out the stack of pictures of children doing amazing things. It was fantastic, like a storybook come to life. "Wow, how can she pick up huge boulders over her head? Look, an invisible boy! And that girl's floating in air." Later on, as I got older, it went more like this. "Grandpa, I know you're just teasing me. I'm too old for those kinds of stories. Come on, it's obvious those are camera tricks. And you're just making up stories about monsters to scare me." After that, Grandpa stopped telling me stories. When I was about 15, he started having what Mom and Dad called dementia. It's when you start seeing and believing things that aren't there. He was a danger to himself, and Mom and Dad were thinking about putting him in a nursing home. Then one night, he was having an episode, as they say. So my best friend Ricky and I went over to calm him down and help him find his medicine. Usually that would stop his crazy talk. When we got there, the house had been ransacked, like it had been robbed. So Ricky got his gun out of his trunk, and we searched the house for Grandpa. We finally found him in the backyard, way back in the woods, on the ground. He had been attacked by something. Could have been a wild animal, but it wasn't. It was a monster. I actually saw it. A monster in the woods. A big, black-eyed giant with tentacles coming from its mouth. My friend Ricky heard it and shot his gun several times over in the direction of the noise. Then it was gone. I put my arms around Grandpa, and he died right there in my arms. Before he died, he told me some strange things. He said, "Go to the island. You'll be safe there. Find the bird in the loop on the other side of the old man's grave, September 3rd, 1940. Well, needless to say, I was a complete wreck after that night. I had nightmares and didn't want to leave the house. I slept in the laundry room for a long time because it was the only room with no windows or outside doors. I felt kind of safe in there. Hey, don't judge. It was a pretty traumatic time. My parents sent me to a shrink, and that's when someone really started listening to me. He said that taking a trip to the island where my grandpa grew up and visiting the children's home might be just what I needed to snap out of this crazy downward spiral. I thought if I could see it for myself, then I would find out that Grandpa was just, well, as everyone kept saying, not in his right mind. But boy, was I wrong. The day Dad and I set foot on that island, I began to see that Grandpa was not just telling fairy tales. Monsters are very real, and there was so much more he should have told me. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs is a mystery that will spin you for a loop over and over again. These three books, Bone Gap by Laura Ruby, Paper Towns by John Green, and Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs, are available today in the library.